Well, welcome, Michelle, the Rebel Witch. I am so excited to have this conversation. I feel like we have been brought together in divine timing. Welcome. How are you doing
Mm,
today?
Thank you. I'm doing amazing. I'm very excited for this conversation and all that wants to channel through us for the magical people tuning in.
Yes, right? These conversations tend to have a life of their own. And so I am also always surprised and delighted by what it is that gets revealed as we co-create this conversation together. So let's dive right in with handing it back to you to give us a little introduction, a little taste of who you are and what you do.
hmm So I'm Michelle, the Rebel Witch. I claimed that name a couple of years ago. I started as a tuna line. So anyone that is tuning in and has been following me, we started with that name because it was really the intention about attuning yourself so that you can get into alignment with your true self. And the
Mm,
intention of that is very much behind the work that I do. The Rebel Witch was this reclamation of an ancient witch that I am, and also a rebel that I am. Rebel soul, always have been, was born into this lifetime as a rebel. So just really reclaiming the wise, the rebel, and anybody that resonates with those, with that entity, with that personality, with those traits, here to pave their own path, be trailblazers, live authentically, live outside the matrix, outside the box. So that is what I help my clients through my coaching realize. So I'm a soul purpose coach and spiritual life coach. So
mm,
I take into consideration all the energetic aspects to create energetic balance and cycle through the mental, spiritual, physical elements to create sustainable, long lasting transformation and the ripple effect of that well beyond the time of us working together. So yeah, I really help spiritual creatives and healers, trailblazers, visionaries who already are tapped in. They already know they've got a big vision, a big mission, and they just might feel a little bit overwhelmed on how to actually execute that in the day to day, or just those pesky, limiting beliefs, self sabotage that we all have, to break through those through shadow work. So I'm very much a shadow worker.
mm.
Um, to be able to live into the full potential and allow themselves to witness just how fucking powerful they are, potent, magical, with their own unique codes, gifts that they've come into this lifetime with to create that impact in this new world, in this new paradigm. So that's a little bit about what I do.
I love you
And
already. It's amazing.
And so a little bit about me personally. I was actually born in Finland. So you wouldn't be able to tell by my accent. So English is actually my third language. So my first language is Swedish and Finnish. Uh, and and so I moved to New Zealand with my mom when I was 7 years old, left behind my family because she found a man here who is my stepdad. So we moved here when I was 7 and I didn't know any English. I learnt the Kiwi English. I learned it fluently within 6 months because as a kid, you're a sponge. So you just like absorb that shit, right? So yeah, I grew up in a tiny country town, 120 kilometers north of Christchurch, which is one of the main cities here in New Zealand. So tiny, tiny, tiny country town. There's like 2,000 people here, and yeah, have gone back to Finland once a year as a kid. Now it's a little bit more like once every 2 years as an adult, but once a year have gone back. Obviously, all my family's over there. My dad, everyone is over there. So have gone back and visited over the summers, over the Finnish summers. So have been hopping between like summer, spring to summer, spring for a few years. And yeah, I grew up here in New Zealand and I've been back there to live for a few years and then come back here again. So that's my life, is kind of just like every few years jumping between these two lives.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Like what a personal story and your work. There's so much there that like I wonder if you could like build a bridge between like that upbringing and the work that you end up landing in, especially like as a shadow worker and helping other people who hold a big vision. I'm guessing you yourself are holding a big vision. Like, how, especially in your small little country town, like I also grew up in a town that was like only 3,000 people, and I'm like this giant energy. And so, yeah, like, how do you go from that upbringing into the work you're doing now? Was that like a smooth transition or some key points along the way?
I'd say I had a very non-traditional upbringing. Nothing like too crazy, but definitely, well, obviously the first obvious one is moving to the other side of the fucking world is not many people actually experience that. So that in itself was huge, right? And I think only in the recent years I've actually acknowledged that it did make an impact on me. It did, make have its own wounds that I've had to, tend to, my inner child and stuff, because I think because it's been my normal, I was just kind of like, oh, it's not a big deal. But really realizing that it was a big deal, like there'd be so much heartbreak during those first few years as a kid, being a year apart from my family. As a kid, even a week feels like forever. So a year felt like just crazy amount of time. Like it would be so painful, like crying myself to sleep, like just an absolute heartbreak, grief, missing, my dad and my grandma and all the, most important people in my life. And back then we didn't really have, it was like a phone call, pick up the phone and call. There wasn't like all the like Facebook and I think Skype was a thing, but it was still not like massive. So definitely been in the recent years actually acknowledging that that was painful, even as beautiful and as epic as it was, it still had a lot of pain, heartbreak that I had to deal with internally on my own, being as well a only child. So there's a lot that I, just tended to myself, soothed myself, had to just, get through by myself. And then when living here in New Zealand, again, just very non-traditional upbringing in the sense of my stepdad, he's very adventurous. So he's been on different traveling shows as a host and stuff. So already very big, like thinking outside the box. He actually was born and grew up here in this tiny town, but yet he's like, made his life very big. And so I had that kind of influence also of think outside the box, like go against the current, like and being cheered on for any kind of outside of box thinking, so really blessed with being so encouraged to any idea, any way of, seeing things differently was very encouraged and cheered on. So that is a blessing. And then I think when I was around 11 years old, my mom and stepdad had a sudden whatever shift they had with themselves. I'm not sure what their story is with why they had this realizational shift, but they had this massive lifestyle shift and really diving deep into self-development. So I got exposed to self-development at around 11 years old. So I was, very much in those in that sort of world, going with them to different like workshops and seminars by, like Kirk Ashley and like all these different self-development dudes at the time, the sort of bigger names at the time. And I remember as well when I was, yeah, around 11 years old, I didn't actually have many friends because I was quite an outsider. The friends didn't really come along. Like the friends were there when I was younger, but then there was that funny, like in between stage of that, like pre-teens that there wasn't really, I didn't have a lot of friends. And there was one summer that my parents were like, either you go and hang out with your friends or you're going to go to these like children's self-development workshops. And do you think I, as a child, I wanted to go to the fucking self-development workshops? No, I didn't want to go to them. That sounded fucking boring to me to sit there and be a weekend in a room like
Yeah.
listening to some self-development. But so yeah, there was no choice because I didn't have friends. So I went to self-development workshops, but hey, it worked out in my favor in the long run. So yeah, so very, very different. And my mom has been a massive, massive cheerleader for me since forever. Like anything, especially to do with my spirituality and psychic gifts. My mom has always cheered me on for that. So there is that side of things as well, where I've been very tapped into my spirituality for a long, long, long time since I was a child. Obviously, that's developed and shifted and gotten stronger over the years as I've personally dived deeper into the work and stuff. But that was heavily cheered on
Mm.
as a child. So yeah, so I think that's all definitely helped me lead me on my path. And something else I would quickly say is that also it's kind of written in the stars with the way that I am. In the sense, what I mean is like with my numerology, with my astrology, with my human design, with all of that, I am actually very in aligned to all the like light aspects, the gift aspects of my codes that I came into this lifetime with, which is all very much to do with shadow work, to do with the deep dive, to do with inner work, to do with being like stepping into leadership and leading people into their into their empowerment and being very spiritual and artistic as well. So all of that is very heavily in all aspects of my different codes that I came into this lifetime with. But of course, I was born into the blessing of being absolutely abundant with love, even imperfectly, even as imperfect as all these people are, there was no lack of love. And that is a blessing. I realize many people don't get that, but I happen to in this lifetime be blessed with an absolute overflow of love from my dad, my mom, my uncles, like every single family member, my direct family member absolutely adores me and loves me and has since I was born. And I'm the firstborn like niece, grandchild, daughter, like, so I think there's a certain element from that as well. But I do want to acknowledge that I've been blessed in this lifetime with an abundance of love. And I'm not saying that hasn't come with its own, like it's still had wounding in it, with their traumas that have been, also exposed, and reflected onto me. But the love has still been very strongly there.
Hmm. That is so
Sorry,
beautiful.
that was like a big blurb.
No, dude, I'm loving this. I don't think I've ever heard anybody say that before. Like so
Mm,
many people are like so aware and familiar of their wounding, and like we gotta be like, you gotta hold space for your wounded inner child, and like I'm all for it. But like I don't think I've ever heard anybody go on a whole rampage about how loved they were. And I just like soaked it into my being that this even exists in the world. And so
mm,
thank you for modeling that. I think that was really
mm.
powerful. Um,
It's definitely taken a lot of inner reflection and inner work to get to that point of realizing that.
yeah.
Because there has been wounding, there has been a lot of shadow and shit that I've had to deal with that has been projected onto me by family members. But the love has still always been there, but it still has come with a cost that all of us have to deal with anyway, is just the projections of the unhealed wounds from our parents, from our guardians, from whoever raised us, that didn't have access to the type of knowledge and insights that we have now. We are in that timeline and the generation that has had to carry it, but also is here to actively break through that and heal those generational traumas and wounding. Like my dad is a refugee from South America, so you can imagine that there is a lot of capped like amount of love that he's not able to give.
Mm.
So there's a lot of things like that where I've had to come to realize it's not personal, it's not me, it's their thing, but it still has hurt my inner child, but I still acknowledge how much love there still is, so it's been a journey. I wouldn't say I've always had that realization,
Yeah.
but I've realized that there is a lot of love. Mm.
Even more powerful to hear that part of the rampage because what I heard when you said that part is that basically we can all get there, like, and there's a level of mastery and healing that you have worked through in order to get there. But so many in this community, like in the owning authenticity spaces, are doing this work, are on this path of acknowledging and holding space and breaking through their ancestral wounds and like all of that. And we see those memes that are like, while you're acknowledging your ancestral wounds, please acknowledge your ancestral gifts. Like they gave you so many good things, the love, most of all, least of all, whichever. Like there's so much good that they gave as best they can. And I even feel my heart softening towards especially my dad as I think about that. So thank you
Mm.
for sharing that. And we love astrology over here in this corner of the internet and human design and all the things. I wonder, do you feel comfortable like sharing a little bit about your unique astrology, your unique codes, as you put it? And my question of like, when you say unique codes, can you break that down for like anybody who maybe hasn't heard it put quite like that before? Like what you mean by that?
Absolutely. So I actually started what was a tuna line as a human design reader before I became a coach. So that was the beginning of from 3 years ago when I started this coaching business. So I'm definitely quite heavily tapped into human design. I wouldn't say I'm a super pro at it because it's actually a lifetime journey, as is astrology and numerology as we discover it more and more within our own personal lives. But unique codes. So let's start there. So we all have come here with unique codes. And what I mean with that is our own unique blueprint. We
Mhm.
have these elements and these traits and these gifts that come naturally to us that already exist within us that we can discover through um, like numerology, astrology, human design. And human design, for anyone who doesn't know, is actually a combination between a lot of these ancient esoteric sciences. So like Kabbalah, chakras, astrology, I Ching, and then it's backed by two sciences as well. So that's pretty epic that these long known, like thousands of year old um, esoteric sciences are coming together into one, which is human design. So, this unique blueprint, when you discover it, you will learn how to live into the light of it. And what I mean with that is the gift of these codes that you have within yourself. Because what I see a lot is people who haven't come to that full acknowledgement of their uniqueness are very much living in the shadows of these traits, of these codes. Just like anything in life, there's the light and the shadow, both have to exist together. So when we're sort of asleep to our gifts, we can heavily fall into the shadow aspect of that. So anything that could be like that you're a great thinker and like your mind is like coming up with all these ideas, that could be like the gift of it. But then the shadow of it could be that you aren't tapped into that and you're actually becoming lazy and deteriorating that gift, right?
Mhm.
So there's like But that doesn't mean you don't have that gift. You just need to switch it on, and it's there, and it's actually easy enough for you to switch on, but it comes with that awareness first, right? And that's the beauty with these different tools like astrology, numerology, human design, all the things, is it's that switch that shows you what you have and turns it on for you, because awareness is always the first step with anything that we do. So the unique codes that you've come into this lifetime, and what I've found is that sometimes we take, well, often we take for granted what comes naturally to us. We quite often seem to not actually fully acknowledge and claim our uniqueness because it's so natural to us that we think or assume that everyone else also knows it or can do it or is capable of it, forgetting that actually, no, not everybody thinks that way, sees things that way, expresses that way, or does the things that way. It's you, it comes through you. And the sooner that you can realize that and claim that, the sooner you actually can get into alignment with yourself, and things can start to fall more effortlessly into place for you, because now you've activated your true purpose, your true gifts, your true being. And that is the beauty of these different tools, is that it gives us almost the roadmap to our blueprint so
Yeah.
that you can actually embody it. And this is the second thing that's really important. It's one thing to get all lost and geeked out on all the information and, oh my God, it says this about me and that about me, and I'm amazing like this and that, da, 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 da. But are you actually embodying it? Or is it just more information that you're storing in your mind and then you just kind of continue on the same way? It doesn't work that way. It's not going to work for you just because you know it, but then you don't actually put it into action. You don't make the subtle shift. You don't claim the thing and show up in that way, right? So this is another thing that we are shifting collectively heavily out of, is this like time of knowledge. It was important. We had to have it, where we, Google came in and the internet and everything. And we've just been like, have like on tap all this limitless information and knowledge. But now we're done with just knowing the things. We want to actually experience the things. We want people to actually tell us from their own personal experience, from their own embodiment, from their own trials and errors and what they've experienced. And that's what we want to know. We don't want to know, what did you fucking read in a book and then pass that information on to us. I mean, sure, like, maybe some people enjoy that, but that's not where the true like transformation happens. More and more people are craving, tell me your story, tell me what you've been through and the wisdom that's come from that. Like, I've got fucking Google. I can search the things myself. I don't need someone else passing on the information to me.
Love it. Love it. Oh, I love it so much. And
So
yeah, I want to hear like your like a little bit about your astrology human design. And don't let me forget, I want to come back to this embodiment piece also and like
mm,
really work there for a little bit, because I feel like that's such a huge key to owning authenticity. You can't just know it. You've got to like be it in your bones. And that's how we show up like that. But yeah, we can definitely come back because I'm so curious about your charts.
yeah. So yeah, my charts definitely make sense to make sense to me as to why I am how I am. Okay, so my sun sign in the Western astrology, my sun sign is Pisces, and I'm an Aries moon and a Scorpio rising. So
Badass
there's that
combination.
there's that mysticism and the shadow realms. So
And the
yes,
fire.
very good. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah.
With the water. That's
So luckily the
oh,
fire, yeah. Luckily
oh,
the fire's there. Otherwise I'd just be all up in this clouds and in the different realms and not getting shit done. So
right.
luckily I've got some fire up my ass to make the shit happen too.
For real. Yes. Okay. And what's your north node?
My north node is wait, my North Node is Virgo, I believe. Or maybe it's
Mm.
Taurus, actually. Taurus. It's an earth sign, though, for sure, which makes so much sense because, yeah, it's either the Virgo or Taurus. Um, because and something else we can dive into shortly is the doshas, which is Ayurvedic energies that we all carry in different percentages. But for me, I'm heavily in my vata and my pitta, which is the air and the fire. So it's thinking, ideas, inspiration, channeling, and making shit happen, taking action. But I'm lower percentage in my kapha, which is earth, which is grounding and slowing down and being in the
Mm.
body and all of that. So I've had to work and master the balance in my everyday life of working through these cycles so that I'm making sure that I'm regulated, I'm grounded, I'm present so that I can actually lead from clarity and not just be all like frazzled and all the ideas, because I was very much like that a few years ago. All the ideas, 100 different ideas, trying to execute 100 different ideas, and then wondering why nothing's working out because I'm putting energy there, like just like all over the show. And now I'm like, clarity. It's just like the long-term vision, the long-term execution.
Yeah. Yeah. So I feel like that's a perfect place to like loop back to this embodiment piece. And like, it's not about knowing all the things, it's about being the things and claiming the things and putting the things into action. And I feel like we're hitting on my love-hate relationship with astrology and other tools like this, because I think it can be a roadmap to your unique design where you unlock your gifts, you get to know yourself, and you are able to sink deeply into your being. And it's a beautiful thing. Or it can be used as like a spiritual bypass tool where like there's just more learning and learning and learning and learning and learning. And I love learning, don't get me wrong. Like it's amazing how much depth there is to things like this. But the people who want to know more, want to know more, want to know more, meanwhile, their life is flatline, like just stays the same. And there's not the embodiment, the putting it into action piece. And so, yeah, like how do you help people connect with like, or even maybe a specific example of like, you've uncovered this gift. Now, how do you actually embody it? Like, what does that look like? What does that mean?
So it's funny, I actually teach this in my free masterclass that I just launched last week. I actually teach spiritual healers, creatives, visionaries to move out of overwhelm into daily inspired, aligned action.
Mm.
Because this is the thing, like you said, about this more knowledge, more information, more head, all in the head, all in the vata, all in the ear, all the mind. So it becomes overwhelm. This is the thing. So this will actually go perfectly with the cycle that I was talking about before, which is the doshas. So
Mm.
doshas is 1,000-year-old Ayurvedic information that they were already tapped into using, living part of the lifestyle. But so we can move through and create this daily balance by recognizing the doshic cycle. So we've got the mind, the vata, the air, which is in the light, the gift of it is the beautiful channeling. And when you're just full of inspiration and it's all hitting and it's all coming through and you're brainstorming and planning all the things. And, all of that is so beautiful, right? When it's in the light. But as soon as it starts shifting into the shadow, it becomes the overwhelm, the frazzle, don't know where to take action on, don't want to miss out on anything, don't want to do the wrong thing and take action on the wrong thing. So how do we shift this energy? Simple. Take fucking action. Choose one aspect of your idea and do the thing. Move. That's how we make it
Move.
happen. That's how you literally
Oh.
shift out of that overwhelm. And sometimes that movement, what I've come to realize myself, sometimes it's as simple as well as just moving your body, right? It's not always just that you have to take action on the idea. if you are right now or whatever, like, on your computer or on your phone and you're planning the things and putting the structure and you're starting to feel that you're disconnecting, you're feeling frustrated, you're starting to feel overwhelmed, you're not actually even focused in on what you're doing anymore. You're just doing it because you feel like you should be doing it. Close down your fucking phone, close down your laptop, put your notes to the side and go for a nature walk, move your body, dance, do some breath work, like shift that energy. So that's one way you can literally move this energy, is to move back into the body, and you will find that you will feel so much more present, you'll feel so much more balanced and harmony, and you will actually probably come up with new fresh perspectives and ideas that you would not have come to if you would have kept staying tunnel vision and trying to like work just from the mind. So choose one element of your beautiful ideas and just move with it. Take the action, realize what is the first step towards that thing and make that happen. Send that email, contact that person, show up on your Instagram live, like send whatever, just do the thing, right?
Yeah.
This is how you will shift that energy. So now we're in the dosha of Peter, which is fire.
Before
So
we go
yes.
there, can I expand and unpack that just like a teeny bit with a question? Number one, I hear your Aries moon like shining so beautifully in everything you just said of like, do it, do the damn thing. And I hear a question from the people watching that would be the ones to get stuck in this. It's like, but how do I choose? How do I take all of this beautiful brainstorming inspiration, 37 directions that I could go? But I don't want to choose the wrong one. I don't want to get it wrong. I don't want to like invest a bunch of energy into something that's not going to work out. Like I just want to bring their voice into that and like receive, just some of that Aries moon wisdom of like cut through the shit for us a little bit and like, right, how do you zap that into clarity?
Okay, so a few things is something that I always preach is follow your excitement. Follow your excitement. Look at the thing that lights you up the most, that inspires you, that turns you the fuck on the most, and follow that. Even if it makes no logical sense, this is your higher self, your soul calling, trying to put the cookie crumbs in your path for you to follow, and it will lead on your true path. So this is where it's about actually leaning into the trust with yourself to know that this is what will serve you in the long term. And what you'll find is the more that you lean into playing with following your excitement, it'll reveal itself very rapidly, just like on the logical sense, why it made no sense at the time. And then you follow that excitement and it revealed to you exactly why you were meant to do that thing. It opens up your world. It gets you in the right places with the right people at the right time, brings you the opportunities, whatever the thing that your logical mind could have never realized would have happened by you doing that thing.
Yeah.
So always follow your excitement. Wherever excitement is leading you, do it. And I'm meaning true excitement, like you just can't get enough of it. You can't stop fucking thinking about it. You're obsessed with it. Not excitement from what you think you should be doing and what everyone else is telling you should be doing. It's like your true excitement, what feels really, really good in your body. So
Yeah.
that is one thing. Always, always lead with excitement. Now, for my babes who are a bit more wanting the structure, the masculine structure on how to actually logically make sense of this. So I want you to make a triangle. And on the triangle, I want you to put at the top your most priority, exciting, move the needle idea, the most important one, and then the next one, and then the next one, and the next one. Like the things that can come after that can come after that can come after that. So then you can see how you're not leaving anything behind. You're choosing what is the most priority and focusing in on that. I feel
Mhm.
like this can bring a lot of comfort in feeling like, oh, I'm not leaving anything behind. I'm not giving up on the things. I'm just focusing on the top. But here's the funny thing is what you'll find most likely when you start to move the needle towards your excitement, towards the main priority, some of these things that you thought you wanted will fall out.
Yeah.
You just won't give a shit about them anymore. You
Yeah.
think you do right now, and they feel very real to you. And I understand that. I felt very real about all the things too. But thank fuck I did not do half the things that I thought I wanted to do. Like, yeah. So that is one nice way. And it's like, and I know this can sound really gloomy, but how do you prioritize? So let's say you will, okay, I'm sorry, this is gloomy, but if you were going to die in a year's time, what would be the thing that you would want to bring into this world most?
Mm.
What feels
Scorpio
like
rising
alive for
reality
you?
check right here. Yeah.
What's most true to you?
Yeah.
What's most exciting to you? What's the impact you want to bring? What feels like your true calling?
Yeah.
That's what you follow right now.
I love it. And I don't think it's gloomy. I think it's powerful because the truth is, when we spin and spin and spin, we're not doing anything, you know? So, like, there's so much like, well, I don't want to get it wrong. But is that worse than doing nothing? Because probably there is no right or wrong. There's only, I tried this and that taught me this thing. And then I pivoted over here and that taught me this thing. And then I did this thing and that taught me this thing. And like, you just keep learning and there is no one right thing anyway. And while we can't pick,
Yeah.
we're not doing anything. And that hurts my spirit. But then again, I
Mm.
have a huge vision. I have a lot to contribute. So, like, the thought of doing nothing is so much more painful than the thought of getting it wrong. I'll make some
Yeah.
mistakes, but I'm gonna do some shit. So, it's just different
Yes.
philosophy for different people. And when we're ready, we do the damn thing, like when it's harder and more painful to sit still, we'll move forward. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. A couple of things to touch on there is, yes, the one thing that you can either allow yourself to be so truly tapped into your why, into your mission, and realize your purpose, your gift, so that that is the like guiding light, the torch that will always, no matter where life takes you, this is what keeps you centered in your path. So that's one beautiful way where I feel like no matter what happens in my life, that's my guiding torch, right? So there's that aspect to it. And sometimes, and then when you're following that, you can avoid having to time and time and time and time again get brought to your fucking knees and be sick of your own shit. Because, yes, I believe, and I have been there many times in the past, where you have to get so sick of your own shit before you make the moves.
Yeah.
But I believe, and I know from my own experience, is that the more that we are devoted to our inner work, to showing up for ourselves on a day-to-day basis, the more balanced we are, and the less we have to get to those moments for us to listen to ourselves, for us to listen to our higher self, our intuition, our internal guidance. And that doesn't mean we're perfectly tapped into it all the time. We don't get sick of ourselves, but it doesn't have to be so chaotic and so to the extreme of just absolute disaster and chaos before you move the needle.
Mm,
Right. So
yeah.
there's that element of it too, is that the more that you actually devote to your self-regulation, self-care, self-love, the more you actually tune in to your inner guidance and can hear where you're meant to be moving to. That's another thing that I teach my clients, and even in my masterclass, on the different tools that you can tap into, and just understanding this energy, is that it allows you to tap in deeper and deeper with yourself to hear, when do I need to move this energy? What do I need to do right now? Like, it's like tuning more into all of that. So there's definitely like brought to the knees moments, but it doesn't have to be a regular occurrence. The reason it's bringing you to fucking knees is because you're not listening. It's
Right.
because you're not listening.
Right.
That's
Or
the
you or
reason
you
it's
are and you're
chaos.
just scared and you're not following
Move.
it, right? Because it's like I think
Mhm.
with our intuition, there's two different pieces of like one, can you hear it? Two, are you following what it's telling you? And I think there's a lot of people who are really tapped in, who are really guided, and they are just asleep on it. Like just don't take action on it. And it's like, dude, like what else is your life for? But so I feel like that was very helpful and very practically applicable for right. Like how do you pick the right one? Number one, you realize there probably isn't even a right one. And it's really just about what excites you the most today, right? It's not the right one for the rest of time. It's the right one for this moment. And so, yes, you were going to bring us, I think, into fire energy at that
Yeah.
point. Yeah. So let's go there.
So I'll just quickly finish up as well on that one is, yeah, like you said, there isn't a wrong one. There is nothing wrong with being multi-passionate, multi-dimensional, having different interests. It just is about allowing yourself to trust in where your path is leading you towards and knowing that, yeah, you can't make the wrong choice, but you can tune deeper into your true purpose, and that will allow things to flow a bit nicer than it have to be a constant slap in the face.
Nobody likes that.
So
Okay. But we've all been there.
yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes, we might be a little bit into it, a bit kinky, but
To
maybe
each their own,
not.
dude. Yeah, for sure.
Um, So now we want to move the needle so that we can avoid this overwhelm because it's not a good time. So now it is choosing that one aspect of your idea to take action on. And it's literally that. It's literally you take action. You put together that program, you sign up for that workshop, you contact that person, you like put your plan into reality, like you create it from the unseen into the seen. And this is the beautiful thing, as humans we are here to create things from the unseen into the seen. So you do that. It's as simple as that. That's the thing we actually know best how to do, and the thing that we are mostly in shadow with and collectively is the fire. That's why so many people are in burnout, because we live in a made for man's world that it's all about hustle, grind, go, 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 take action, don't stop. And people are burnt out. So that's the shadow side of the pitta of the fire, is burnout. So the
Mm.
light is creating momentum, making shit happen, creating things. That's the light of it. But the shadow of it is burnout. So that's something we are starting to learn now collectively, is that there is actually more power in working smarter, not harder. Taking aligned action, not hustling just for the sake of hustling, right? So
Mhm.
it is something that is shifting collectively. But understanding this personally is recognizing when you get to the point of when you're taking action and making things happen, and then suddenly it just feels like it's not happening anymore. You feel like you're forcing things. You feel like, you're trying to come up with the solutions and it's just not happening. You're exhausting yourself. And that's when you should stop. That's when you should stop taking action and actually move into the next one, which is earth, which is kapha. And this is all about resting, reevaluating, grounding, regulating, reflecting. So this is your
Mhm.
time to actually slow down, see the bigger picture. But before you even look at the bigger picture, just be, just literally be in your body, have a nap, rest, ground, put your feet on the earth, go into nature, like do anything but your work, your projects,
Yeah.
anything like that. And this is a beautiful time. And so many people can see this as a weakness, and it's something that a lot of people struggle with, is allowing themselves to rest without the guilt. I've been there. I've had to work through this, of being able to just rest without explanation, rest because I feel like it, rest because I choose to, not because I have to have an excuse or explain myself, but because I just get to. We're allowed to do that. It is part of our human experience. We don't have to be constantly doing things to be productive, to be, there's you can be more productive when you allow yourself to rest. This is the funny thing. So this is where it gets funny, is that you think that if you just put more structure in place, you do more brainstorming, do more planning, and then take more action and push harder and push harder and push harder, you will come to the conclusion and you get the results and find the answers. Do you know where you find your answers? Is in rest.
Stillness.
So when you
Yeah.
slow down, you actually
Yeah.
hear, you listen, you become this open channel. And the funny thing is, all the answers come to you without you having to try to figure them out. They literally just land in your lap. The different perspectives, the fresh perspective, the fresh ideas, they will just come to you
Yeah.
in this rest, in this grounding. But as the other ones have a shadow, so does this one. So this one is lethargy, getting lazy, can't be fucked doing anything.
Mm.
So this is why it's important to, as well, once you feel like you have recharged your batteries, you've gotten what you needed out of this reevaluation, resting, regulating, the ideas have come through naturally, because these new ideas are coming through, you're going to most likely naturally already start shifting back into vata, into the brainstorming planning, because now all these fresh ideas are coming through. Oh my God, so excited. Now I want to just put the plans in place and
Yeah.
brainstorm and create ideas. And so you will find that if you're tapped into this, you will naturally already shift into the next one, and the cycle goes on and on. And this has been a life changer for me, is recognizing this cycle. And the
Yeah.
more you tap into this, the more it's going to just become natural to you, and you're going to feel within yourself when it's time to shift into the next one and next one on a daily basis. And something I'll just quickly finish up on with this cycle is that you can have these doshic cycles in different parts of your life. So what I mean with this is, you might be in a certain part within yourself personally, like you might feel like you're in the resting, but your business might be in pitta, or your other projects might be in vata. So it's recognizing that everything has its own part of the cycle that it's in.
Mm.
So you might need to rest for a little bit, but that doesn't mean your business rests. But that doesn't mean you have to take action today on it either. You got to honor that you need to rest right now. And when you recharge, you know that that business is in its vata or in its kapha. And once you've, recharged yourself, it's time to create the momentum, right? Or that you've been creating momentum on your project, but it actually needs a rest,
Yeah.
So it's thing to recognize what cycle are these different things in, and you personally in.
I all in divine timing, but what I was gonna say was I can't believe I didn't know any of this. Like you just taught me so many things, and I'm seeing like right, my own natural cycles, and I love that part of like you can actually be in so many different cycles all at the same time, but like your life force energy has its cycle, and then all of these things that we create and build exist on top of your personal cycle that you're in. And so they're kind of subject to like, if they want to build momentum and you're in rest, it's just gonna have to take a beat. I'm resting. I'm carving out this time and I will be back. And I know I'm coming for you as soon as I'm back in the game. So that's amazing. So is there a water energy? I'm assuming how and like where and how does
Yeah.
that fit into it?
Okay, so actually, yeah, so we don't focus too much on the second element that's part of all three. So technically the Vata has space as well in it, like it's got the space energy. The Pitta also has water, but in the sense of think like a tsunami or like big rapid, like that kind of like big energy water to make movement, to break through and make things happen. And then the Kapha also has water, but think of like a serene lake with like no ripples, like the most calm water. So the water element exists in both the Pitta and the Kapha, but in the different forms of water.
Yeah. Which is just also, I mean, yeah, I'm having a whole thing here. Um, wow, I love that this came back to rest. Radical rest is something I personally preach a lot, which is very simply the idea. that you rest and take what would be like sick days in our culture, but you just take them to like rest and like recharge your batteries before you get sick. Like it's that simple. Like people get put on bed rest when they're like actually physically depleted and diseased. And I'm like, how about you just put yourself on bed rest when your energy's a little out of whack and like, get it back into nice flow and harmony. Um, it works for me, but that like that natural cycle, like it feels very in line with nature itself, which I think is part of humans' beautiful journey of evolution of consciousness. Like we have gone so far away from nature. Like like you were saying, like go, 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 hustle, 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 grind, grind, grind. You can sleep when you're dead. Like this messaging is so out of alignment with like nature itself. And no wonder then you have so many human beings in deep depression, in like these places where it's just not working. And again, like have
Yeah.
been there and have been brought to my knees in those cycles myself to even have the breakthroughs to come into a more natural way of being with my energy, which includes proactive rest. I'm doing it because I decided I'm doing it, not because anybody gave me permission or like people don't need things from me. Like, oh, this day is free. Like nobody needs anything. Like good luck waiting for one of those, versus like let me just carve it out and tell these couple people like I'm carving out a rest cycle for myself. I'll be back in touch with you when I'm back up and going, which is an easy enough
Yeah.
message to send depending on how tight the guilt is holding you,
Hmm.
you know.
I was going to say that because this comes back down to, which again, you guys should check out my masterclass Beyond Vision, because I literally tap into the different self-sabotage as to why you may not be allowing yourself to put boundaries in place, or why you may not be showing up and taking action on your idea because of even fear of success. Like all these things, I list all the different self-sabotages and how it may be playing out in your overwhelm that you're creating for yourself.
Yeah.
But definitely one of them, boundaries. So if you feel like if you are in people pleasing, then you will have a big hard time with actually creating that space for rest, because you will feel bad to tell your work that you are taking time off, or tell your friends that no, not today, or tell whoever else. You'll feel like you always need to give to somebody else and you will leave yourself behind. So this is where doing the shadow work and clearing that block, clearing that self-sabotage is so important, so that you can actually come back into being authentic to yourself, being grounded with yourself, being truthful and respecting yourself,
Mm.
and speaking that out, and it's okay. And the thing is like most people don't give a fuck. Like they just really don't. They don't care that you need to take space, in the sense of like it's not going to affect them. They're fine with that. Life goes on.
Yeah.
And anybody that does have a problem with you stating your boundaries, stating your truth, and all of that, you will very quickly see who are truly your people and who have just been leeching your energy off you because they could get something from you. So it
Hello.
serves a purpose the way. It
Yeah.
serves you well in all the ways.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And that can be kind of a heartbreaking moment. Just
Yep.
want to honor and
Mhm.
acknowledge that, like, when you thought somebody was your friend, and then you find out,
Yep.
oh no, they were just siphoning your energy because
Oh,
you
it
could give it to
sucks.
them. Like, that's really sad moment. Been there. And isn't that still serving you? Like
Mm.
in that moment of like letting them go, creating new space to number one, keep your energy and devote it to things that are truly in alignment with your heart, and potentially opening up space for a more aligned, more reciprocal friendship. Someone who doesn't need your energy, but graciously receives it and gives to you in return. Like we all deserve that. So if your boundaries
Yeah.
blow some shit up, like probably for the best, even though I do acknowledge
Yeah.
that that's hard. Yeah.
Definitely, and it sucks, and sometimes it can feel lonely, and this is where I would encourage if there's that in-between phase of when you've
Mhm.
come to that realization and people are falling out of your life because you're becoming more truthful to yourself, more authentic in yourself, is there might be an in-between phase and stage where that space before you start calling in your true people, your tribe, your soul people, your soul mates, right? So in that case, start showing up in different communities, like go to dance classes or different workshops or different retreats or circles, wherever, right? This is
Yeah.
where you choose the spaces that you know are going to most likely be in alignment to the kind of people you want to start having around you. Where
Yeah.
would they be hanging out? What are they doing? Go there and start doing that. Not because, and this is important, don't be doing it just because you want to make the friends. Like you want to be in these places because it is truly your passion also,
Right.
right? Very important
Right.
that it's not led by an ulterior motive of, I'm just pretending to go and like these things because I want the friends. This is
Mhm.
again gonna like just not serve you in the long run. So very important that, but the thing is like naturally when you do the inner work, naturally you will start becoming more and more okay with just your own solitude, with yourself, with your own love, which will allow you the space to recognize where are my actual places and spaces and people, you know.
Mhm.
So it's a journey, but you don't need to do it alone. And I understand that not everybody has the support. So this is where it's as well reaching out to coaches and mentors or listening to podcasts like where you're actually getting affirmed these things or getting guided through any of the, grieving, because there will be a process of grieving through it also. Grieving also when you are letting go of old versions of yourself is very real,
Yeah.
so it's allowing you to realize there will be a grieving process and it's a part of natural human nature. We all grieve. We will all grieve multiple times throughout this lifetime for many different reasons. And one of those reasons is when you're letting go of old versions of yourself.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
reach out. You're not alone on this journey. There are mentors, there are coaches, there are circles, there are support groups, there are, workshops. Like start seeing where do you want to be? What kind of life do you want to create? Who are you truly becoming and want to become? And how do they show up? What do they do with their day-to-day life? You know, how do they contribute to their community? All of that, like start taking note of how this version of you shows up, feels about herself, dresses, speaks, walks, carries herself, all of that.
Mm. Well, and even to like just paint a picture of how true what you're saying really is, how Michelle and I met, I sent her a message on Instagram and said, I love your vibe. Would you like to get on Zoom sometime and have a conversation that I can put on my YouTube channel? And you just watched that conversation. Like, this is the first time she and I have ever shared space and had a conversation. And it truly was like, I like, I like what you're doing over here. Do you want to talk to me? Oh, you do? Okay, let's schedule that. Great, it's time. Let's join the Zoom. Who are you? This is who I am. Like, there was an interview, so it's not exactly back and forth, but like it's that simple of like, and I also want to paint even a wider picture of on the day that I reached out to Michelle, I reached out to 8 Instagram accounts. Okay. And was like, very similar message. Like, I like what you're doing here. I think you and I could get on and like really have an awesome conversation. Not all of them messaged me back. Okay. And like, when you only reach out to one person and they don't message you back, it can be very tempting to be like, they don't like me and like I'm not likable and like nobody likes me and like start to make up a story about that. But here's the thing, like 6 of them messaged me back. Okay. So like people are so ready to connect, and if it's right, the connection will happen. And, somebody has to reach out. And I think a lot of people kind of sit under their rock going like, there's nobody, I don't have any friends. And it's like, how often are you putting yourself out there to make a friendship, reaching out your hand? It's easier, it's easier than you think, but it does go back to that self-trust piece and even self-love, like letting yourself have what you want, believing that that's
Mm.
possible for you, that you're worthy of it. There's all kinds of things that can stand in our way. And it sounds like Michelle has a lot more to teach us about all of these things, and especially the self-sabotage pieces. So I wonder if we could end there. Michelle, if people would like to dive more into your world, your work, where would you like them to go to find you?
Yeah, thank you. It's been such a beautiful conversation, and I know that there's probably going to be a part two at some point
I was
because
thinking
I
the
feel like
same
we've
thing.
got a lot more.
Oh my gosh.
Comment below if you want this to be like a semi-regular occurrence, or we just like jam out on these conversations.
Yes, oh my God.
um,
I'm gonna comment below
but
and be like, yes, please do this. Yeah.
So you can actually, I teach my 3S method, which is somatic shadow seduction, which allows you to tap in daily to this energy of making sure that you're doing the inner work for self-regulation, self-love, and self-seduction. So this is where you can actually start as well with this. If you feel like, for example, as you mentioned, if you feel like you're going to make it a story about yourself if somebody doesn't message you back, there is a wounded part of you that needs acknowledging.
Oh,
And this is where, even an example of that, you can tap into this 3S method, triple S method, and start to cultivate the self-love within yourself, regulate your nervous system, be so grounded with yourself, and also do the somatic healing and shadow work to shift these blocks and heal these wounds. So tap into that. That is, I teach that in my masterclass Beyond Vision. So you
mm.
can just DM me on Instagram, the_rebel_witch, and I will send you a link for that. And yeah, I've also got a group program coming up that is in launch at the moment. So we'll be beginning in July, and it's currently an early bird. So if you want a couple of free one-on-one coaching sessions included and save $500 to join a 6-month container with me, where you get unlimited support guidance with me for the next 6 months, DM me for that as well. But
Mm.
otherwise, yeah, I've got a bunch of value on my Instagram, and yeah, would love to connect.
Amazing. So Instagram being the primary place to go to find you, and we'll put a couple links in the description box. So that's super easy for people to head over there and make that connection if they've resonated. And comment below if you want to see her back here on Owning Authenticity again, which I already like. When you started, I had so many pieces that I was like, oh, I want to talk about that and that and that. We didn't get to any of those things, but it was totally amazing as it was. But that we have so many places we could dive back in. So if you're up for that, I would definitely be up for that.
Make it into a mini series for sure. I'm keen.
Yeah, yeah. Oh my gosh, I love it. Okay. Well, thank you so much for everything that you shared today, the wisdom that came through here. I know I soaked it up and have so many more vocabulary words, like going back to the mind energy. Like, we love the mind energy. It's so good to have language for what it is that we're experiencing. And I know I learned a lot today listening to you. So thank you so much for everything that you took the time to share with us. Amazing.
Thank you for inviting me into your community and having this conversation. It's been beautiful to connect with you, and looking forward to future collaborations.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. I love you. I love everyone watching. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Mm.